that Roe versus Wade thing's it's fun. It's actually now created an environment where there can maybe, possibly, be a reasonable conversation about abortion. A reasonable conversation about it. Like, let's have a discussion about this, because there's been an opportunity here to redress the balance, but it's a matter of these people who've been using that Roe versus Wade as a kind of battering ram, because it was, let's have it right, it was like a way of getting something bullshit into the Constitution, making a new constitutional right. And it's a bullshit right, but you can understand, right, in the weakness in certain folks as to why a big enough group in that Supreme Court have upheld that in the first place, as to where they've all gone, they've gone in there, haven't they, and told them the story about the poor girl who's been forced into having a back street, this and that, and it's a matter of, hang on a minute. Right, it's like, there's been abortion since there's been people. It's like, way back when, it's like, people who used to give themselves what would be like chemotherapy now. They would ingest a load of fucking poison, wouldn't they? And it wouldn't kill them, but it'd kill the baby, and then the baby would miscarry. All these kill or cure portions. As to her mother doing this would probably, it may even do detrimental damage to her health, cause her problems, fuck herself up for the rest of her life, but there has been ways and means of killing a baby with poisons thousands of years. So it's like, it's always been a thing, it'll always be a thing. Now, to make it safe, no, can't be done even. Why? Because of silliness and insanity, and the stupidest person in the world being just as able to get someone as pregnant as the smartest, or get pregnant themselves as the smartest. Like, nature, pretty unforgiving where it comes to sperm. Sperm, you know what I mean? Give them a chance and they're in. They are hyper, ultra competitive creatures. Creatures being what they are. It's like, hang on a minute, there's pieces of this entire conversation missing. As to how it's addressed. As to I think that the powers that be have been like avoiding a proper conversation about that Roe v. Wade, because they use it as a battering ram and kind of also a dam. It's like that was the little insertion into the US Constitution. And it shouldn't be there. It's there for entirely sentimental reasons. And the way that they've discharged it, because if you look at how the Supreme Court discharged it, it's like, how many people who were angry about it went away and read the ruling? Well, I did. They were pretty, it's like, this court no longer holds the accountability or responsibility for every woman in the country's reproductive independence. It's not a power we should have, we don't want it. And they've dispelled it. They don't uphold Roe versus Wade, they've dispelled it, it's gone. So now it's a matter of, while you were just pillorying people who wanted to have that overturned, instead of having an actual proper conversation about how have we got ourselves in this position, how can this be kind of reformed and made safe, right? A corporation has grown on the back of it, that Planned Parenthood. It's like, they're sick, woke eugenicists, and you don't hear much about them these days. They're not in the news like they once were, because before they were like bandied around as a great charitable, caring endeavour. Planned Parenthood. Abortion clinics. And it's like, these guys are like a government-funded abortion factory, aren't they? Like, taxpayers' money go to funding abortions. So it's like you could be the most against abortion person there is, as to where it makes you, the idea of it make you feel sick. Because, hey, it's just death, you know. The idea of it might make you sick. And your tax dollars get funneled to Planned Parenthood to do abortions. It's like you could take that to the Supreme Court and say, why am I paying for abortions when I'm a Christian? And it's been done. It's an approach of attack. As to why is this in there? This is nothing to do with that. This is something that should be dealt with by, you know, the towns and cities, the states, like it was before. So there's already states that have taken measures and said, right, shut down. We've already put laws in place anticipating this Roe versus Wade where would get wiped out. So then, therefore, the law then defaults to our statute. So, in all these liberal places, nothing has changed at all. But in some of the red states, things have immediately changed and abortion has been banned. But, as it said in the judgment, your ability to cross state lines and get an abortion is not infringed. You've got freedom of movement. So it's not banned. Certain states might have said, right, no more, but that just means you get in your car and you drive to the nearest state where you can. And it'd be a matter of, you know what? At the moment, there's no incentive on women to be responsible in that regard. It's like maybe asking her to drive 500 miles to get an abortion might make her think twice before she gets pregnant. It's like there's an accountability thing here. I've been toying with like an objection to the histrionics, and my objection comes back like, you don't have to screw them all, you know. Excuse me. It's like, well, yeah, it's like if you weren't promiscuous, if you didn't see sex as some kind of human right that you can't go without, if you didn't see that as that, we won't be having this conversation, because it'd make perfect sense to you that no one just accidentally gets pregnant, or, you know, there's no immaculate conceptions. But we have to pretend that it's a great big shock and surprise when someone comes up pregnant in view of the fact they've been fucking. It's like, come on, that flies. And if you go up against that, people start to talk, you've got a problem. It's like women have got absolute control over their bodies. Absolute as is, because they get to choose who gets to have sex with them. Otherwise, it's called rape, and that thing's really frowned upon. Whether or not what the law is, what you go to prison for, whatever, it's like that. Just that word being bandied around is enough to say, oh shit, here's the chance of me getting myself murdered, or at least facing a beating from a member of the public. It's like, he raped me, and I went to the police and made a complaint, and I told everybody, and they said there wasn't enough evidence to prosecute. And I said, well, you've already kind of muddied the water, though. You already told everyone that he's guilty of a crime that we can all agree is a crime, and it really doesn't matter if he goes to prison or not. He might face punishment for it if he's guilty, and it might come in a few different forms. It's like women have got absolute control over who gets in. And when the act takes place, it's a matter of they're irresponsible. And to say you play a massive part in getting pregnant with the fucking, to say that is somehow a taboo. You're not allowed to actually go there and say, hey, hang on a minute, aren't you in control of the ship? And if you question who's on the hook, women I can't bear it when women will say, he got me pregnant. He deliberately got me pregnant. I've heard women say, he deliberately got me pregnant. It's like, you're not in control of that. Realistically, it's like in being a woman, there's some maintenance, right? And it pays to keep kind of track of it, and you probably do it without even thinking. I used to work with women in the sales office, right? And on certain times, if they were particularly moody and nasty and dangerous, right? I'd just make a note in my diary of the day. I'd put a circle around the day and put an initial. And then when it happened again next month, I'd get me book my desk diary out and I'd go, yeah, okay. It's like if the people around you can be attuned enough to keep track because of the post, what do they call it? PMT, menstruation stress. And if I can pick up on that as being like a factor, as to say this is unpleasant, and do that, just start to take a note of the day and put an initial. And then you find when you get women who are in proximity that they start to then menstruate along the same pattern along enough period of time. They all synchronise. You're like, oh fucking hell. You know, I actually showed that to a couple of women I work with and like, yeah. And they were like, you did what? It's like, yeah, I've got to work with you without going fucking crazy. I have to be able to let it go. I have to have a good reason not to bite back at you when you're being despicable. And this is the system I've got. I make allowances for the fact that you're going through something I ain't got a fucking idea what's about, but from the way you're reacting, you seem extremely irritable and agitated. I know what it is to be miserable and agitated, and I know what it is to be that. I've had broken legs, I've had the odd operation, I've been, I know what it feels like to be out of control. So I'll give you a fucking pass. Because I'm a guy, you see, I don't understand the ins and outs of the mechanics, and if you actually try to have conversations with women about women's problems, they're useless. They don't teach you anything. They give you a lesson in minding your own fucking business, mostly. So it's like that communication on that level is completely the woman's domain, and that entire process of what goes on downstairs is a taboo to this day. Even in this day where it's a matter of the world is just one great big porno, right? And people look at each other and they've not just objectified and idealised, have pornographied each other. They've gone, ooh, I'd smash that. They've pornographied the world. But they still maintain complete control over the process and the conversation about the process, and at any stage of what the conversation is, they refuse to be judged. As to say, that's a bit irresponsible. Who are you to tell me what to do? Ooh. Excuse you. You're trying to think for me. Oh shit, we wouldn't want you fucking using any sense, would we? You're trying to think for me. What? So it's like this is the murkiest territory there is in all of our societies. We don't hold women accountable for their actions, and the most valuable or else destructive thing a woman can start doing is throwing kids around and having abortions. I'm just saying. By way of traumatic experience to be part of and to be around, an abortion is right up there with a murder. It is. It's right up there with losing a relative. It's one of them things. It's like a bereavement. No one knows how they're going to feel about it after they've done it. And it's one of those events in life you can take on and it have that effect on you. And it's there. The risk's there. You have an abortion, it may actually hit you like a bereavement. And it's like the damage done to the body by an abortion, certainly the endocrine system, which is what I would certainly point to as being an extremely important way in people's quality of life, as to where your body doesn't know about abortion until them forceps go in, and then it feels like it's been attacked and assaulted, and that fetus, as much as it's got sense of feeling, will try and defend itself and move out of the way. So it's like that thing's sentient. It, in its action, demonstrates it knows it's alive. It tries to keep itself alive. And it's like, no, that's not sentience. But you start seeing these people who talk about the PETA people, the animal people, who talk about animal sentience, right? They'd be leaping all over that as to say the animal wants to live. Well, the fetus wants to live too. Fetus will fight to survive in the same way as humans fight to survive. Fight to overcome, endure, live. It's like the whole act of it as to where now it's seen as being some kind of almost virtuous or brave act. It's like you've just been like in this, what could you could have said to have just been ritually sacrificing, because there's someone in the world who would think better of you for doing it. And it's like, oh my God, that's flat out satanic, John, that's evil. And it's like, yeah, it is, isn't it? And I ain't the only person who thinks that, as to in the deep down bottom pit of it, is to say this is sick and this is evil. It's like the question we should asking is, why do you have to fuck them all? Why can't you respect yourself and respect creation and respect God by not getting pregnant in the first place? It's like you manage it most of the time not to be pregnant. Why's the system failed now? Because, you know, there's people in the world who struggle to have kids, and when they come along, they're a gift. They're a massive gift. They're absolutely delighted to have gotten pregnant. They're like, yeah. Then there's those who are like, oh, fuck no. It's like, what chance in the world's that kid got? And it's like, your action put it there. You get it? Women who blame others for getting pregnant will then start blaming them kids if they are born. If there's enough financial incentive for them kids to be born, they'll be born. And you're like, who thinks like that? It's like, oh, they do. People who skate around on this abortion pond ask themselves this question quite often. It's like, what course of action led you to this abortion clinic? Obviously nothing to do with you. Obviously nothing that you've played any equal part in. Nothing that you had any power over at all. I'm completely helpless. Personally, I would not ban abortion. You know why? Because it's always existed. And when push comes to shove, there's loads of fucking people out there who know how to do it, using old wives' tale, old methods of poisoning. So it should be done, and it should be as safe and humane and as early as possible. But it should be safe. It should be a high-tech business. It's like, what's wrong with them pills that they have, them Plan B pills? I don't think that that's an abortion. I think you know, it's still on you. You're still in the time frame when you can act, you can sort something out. So with that, them next morning after abortion pills. So what a good idea. That's a better invention than the pill. Like what? It's like, well, them things don't have the side effects and the hormonal changes that the contraceptive pill. Contraceptive pill's not safe. It adjusts body chemistry and hormones to make the environment an unfriendly one. That ain't a good way of doing it. That's crude. And they're saying women's access to contraception could be under threat. And it's like, yeah, because we need a fucking conversation about that too, don't we? It's like if you don't want to get pregnant and you're a woman, there's quite a few different methods you can. Seen it once where she didn't keep it in for very long, but they were like a friend of a friend's daughter. And she came in my mate's studio one day and she showed me the implant that she'd had that stopped her from getting pregnant. And it was like a piece of wire sticking out of her arm. It was like something out of Brave New World. It's like, they put it in your arm? The joke. But there's many a contraption that are non-invasive. Planning, thinking. It's just the planning and thinking's not there. If you had any notion to think or plan ahead or look after yourself, you wouldn't have got yourself in that trouble in the first place. I'm just saying. As to where abortion has to exist for these fucking non-thinking fucking morons who do fucked up things. It has to exist for them. You know, this shit they're saying is an objection. You'll make the rapist, you'll make the victim have the rapist's child. It's like, no one would do that. Nobody. Even in this state. Even in a state where it's banned, there will be a provision as to where you could go up in front of a judge and ask for permission to have an abortion. Not have to appear yourself. Not have to go up in front of a beak if it be that there's some funny business, but if it be a matter of, yeah, this is in that area that we talk about as to where she's a sex crime victim. She's been groomed, she's been run a train on, and she's come up pregnant. Well, then it'd be a matter of, she would be allowed an abortion anywhere, wouldn't she, in the modern world? And if she wasn't, she would run to the press and the whole fucking gamut of them would start screaming. And it's a matter of, yeah, they would, wouldn't they? It's like, right, now you've had a good scream. Can we have a conversation about this situation, please? As to your human right, you have no human right to have sex with no repercussions. You think that men have sex with no repercussions. It's like, you're kidding me. Those who think that's the case, they meet up with some woman who decides, I want a baby, and he's good looking, we'll have good looking kids. I'll have a good looking child, and he'll have to pay. So that baby comes into the world, and you say, men, they can do what they want. It's like, no, they can't. They're on the hook for everything. And most know it. Some don't, some do, but we're on the hook for everything. But then you've got a thing where there are those in the world who are in the same sort of boat as me, and they just haven't got any money. So it's a matter of a guy in my situation. He can afford to just plant it anywhere because you'll not get no money from him. He's just a sperm donor. He ain't bringing no money to the party. It's like Roe versus Wade constitutional right to abortion has been used as a fucking battering ram to question what is and what isn't constitutional and then fucking add things to it. Make more decrees. Well, based on that, where we managed to smuggle something totally fanciful into a serious document. This is constitutional. No, it's not. Someone caught my eye a second ago. Now, I've been weighing up all kinds of different activity in the last 24 hours, which is the reason for the video. I only follow 30 people on that Twitter, but in the same 5 minutes I saw 2 people get hit with a God-shaped bat by way of invoking Jesus and calling down all kinds of violence on people, putting curses on people. I saw it twice in 5 minutes, and I only fought 30 people. And it was Michael Malice got hit with the Jesus hate bat, and who else was it got war with it? James Lindsay. Within 5 minutes of each other, but they were different, but they were the same sort of angles of attack. So it's like, right, the kind of a rule of hysterics, right? People who are helpless and hysterical, right? Now, if they wanted to, if talking sense to them about what the ins and outs of Roe versus Wade, which is what I've just done, it's not really going to stand in the way of anyone getting an abortion. It's just we'd like a conversation about it, and it needs to be better understood as to what the repercussions of this business is, and as well as that, it's like the business that they're fronting for, that are harvesting stem cells and doing it, buying body parts to do experiments on in labs, and that's macabre and obscene and needs to end. I'm just saying. It's like if you're ever going to, for one reason or another, create a virus that'll wipe out humanity, that branch of science you're looking at, it probably is that. It's like our humanity be gone when we're harvesting stem cells from aborted fetuses to grow organs for the old. It's like by then you've descended into a kind of scientific cannibalism that's an abomination, and the abortion industry fuels it. It's its product, and it's like, you dirty motherfuckers, like evil, and it's a matter of who's in this business. It's like Planned Parenthood. Oh, I've given a donation. They're a charity and a non-governmental organisation, like a main government contractor, and they get paid for doing it, and then all the materials left behind. There's no wives' tale that they're incinerated. No, they're harvested and sold. They go straight onto some medical auction site and get sold off. It's like, ooh. It's sick as absolute fuck, and it's like, yes, but think of the amazing medical breakthroughs we can be making, the people's lives we can save. It's like, yeah, the fucking old people, keeping the old people alive longer. You're creating life extension technologies with like organ replacement, so rich people don't have to be afraid of dying so much anymore. And at the same time, you've got the shiny ass salesman from hell. I managed to actually like blag these guys that they can make them into cyborgs and things like that. It's like, That is, if you believe that I've got a bridge you can buy, I've got some beachfront property available in Bury. It's that. It's like you being sold a big one. So it's like these guys at the top of our chair are so detached from reality, they'll believe anything as long as it suits their fear. Do that. Start a firm where you convince people that when they die, you're going to upload them to the cloud, right? And then when they get paid while they're alive, yeah, and so it's going to be, and then when they die, pretend you've uploaded them to the cloud and just create a fucking bot you can interact with, and you can pretend that that's them. I've never seen a bigger wide open door fucking scam like that since back in the 70s when the computers could think in science fiction, when the computer was better at thinking than the human. When the computer was better at thinking than the human in science fiction, it's like they've run one past us here, and it's like there's those in the world who believe that that's what computers are, and if they haven't really got to it as to where, well, it's just a great big pocket calculator, it's just a really, really big one. Can't think for shit, can't discern, can't judge, can't speak. It's a thing. It's a platform. It's like a canvas that keeps getting bigger. They still don't understand that. Those old fucking Luddite cunts can be sold all these concepts of, we can put microchips in your brain and you really can. Well, that's going to work, isn't it? They're just talking bollocks and getting fucking paid, and these like rich billionaires who want to live forever are paying them and paying them and paying them and paying them. It's like there's a big huckstering thing going on, but at the side, right, this thing that's gone on, right, this Roe versus Wade, the God sticks out. So it's like suddenly I'm seeing signs that the SJW army, right, has incorporated the gay church. What? It's like, yes, the gay church has decided to enter the political realm, and the gay church has now been sort of lulled into defending abortion rights. And it's like, you couldn't write that, could you? And it's like, the boss has a plan. Really? If you can lure the gay church into defending that, it's like, excuse me? And then they are, because they've split the church, they're talking about the religious right as opposed to the religious left. So what's happened is we've got a schism. The religion, the old sectarianism may have re-arisen. In fact, it has. A schism. The Christian right and the Christian left. So we've got what would be well, it's in ideal terms it would be Peter versus Paul, wouldn't it, by way of vision, Catholicism, and like Protestant Christianity. But it's actually it's Paul versus Steve. It's like, what has become of you, oh brother? It's like, you're not Robert Powell, are you, the actor? Talking like Charles Manson, being all beautiful. Are you? The Jesus of the gay church is like a caricature created in the 60s and 70s of some kind of peace-loving, hippie, come free-loving Bob Marley. if you can listen to John Lennon and think those are words of beauty and wisdom, you might have a problem. But hippie Jesus, the all-forgiving, peace-loving hippie Jesus, he won't save you from anything apart from, I don't know, your own judgment. But the old boss, the boss of the Old Testament, he's looking down because Jesus himself was also a product of the Almighty. He wouldn't have been happy with hippie Jesus, nor his followers. And he'd be like, yeah, but what really happened? The old God versus the new. The brand spanking new. St. Paul versus Steve. Yeah, I'm really called Steve, but in Jesus Christ Superstar, I played Jesus. I say, what's been done to Jesus? Hippie Jesus. The guy in South Park, they got it right, didn't they? With their version of Jesus, fucking useless. But Jesus himself only be an instrument of the Almighty, which is what Paul knew. Now, you right-sided Christians, or you Christian right, the minds behind those organisations, they think like I do. What? It's like, yeah. So it's like, the right targets for attack for the left are those guys, and to go after them, to go after, that Franklin Graham, you just get blasted out of the chair, wouldn't you? with your woke nonsense. So it's like, yeah, your Christian leaders are in the States. Many of them, there's a lot of them arseholes, but many of them are formidable. And it's like, if the gay, if you like, the entire Rainbow Brigade at the end of Pride Month can be sent crashing against those people, I point to it because it's like I say, it's like the lefties are reaching for magic. They're lashing out with the Jesus bat on the Twitter. I'm going to read you something that Libs of TikTok put up. And it's someone who's made a fucking post on that Reddit. And the person's called Rip It, Throwaway. Like, okay, we know something of what you are and where your mind goes just from that. Sounds like something that would happen in ancient Rome. Says, the radical Christians are found in the rural areas. This is like, I'll read this out to you because this is the worst idea anyone's ever had that would guarantee that a lot of people die. Right? This is the worst. I'm reading this out because this is a fucking bad idea. And almost every word of it is a lie. Okay. The radical Christians are found in the rural areas. Their towns are defenceless. They have almost no cops and their firemen are volunteers. They have to borrow cops and firemen from neighbouring jurisdictions miles away in order to handle anything big. And they think they're safe out there. Forget burning cities. Cities are on our sides. It's time for rural areas to feel the heat. Okay. This person is hilarious because they don't realise that they're on a laptop somewhere in a room behind a locked door typing this on the fucking internet. And they haven't got a fucking clue, those people out in those rural areas. I'd suggest, because they're rural people and they live out in the middle of fucking nowhere, there might be a chance that they know each other. Excuse me. Yeah. This idea you've had of preying upon them. You're not the first person who's had that idea. Banditry is a thing. Much like what burglary is. They'd face banditry. So they know something of it. It's like people out in the country tend to know each other. And when push comes to shove, are on speaking terms where it comes to, if you defend my part, I'll defend yours. It's like, don't you think these people learned anything out on the fucking prairie? To blindlessly, using assumptions, amble into those places, looking to get some payback or punish, is a way of getting yourself shot 50 fucking times and learning nothing. And do you think that these people out in the country don't have such things as the internet and mobile phones? When you live in a wide open space, it really does pay to become a fucking crack shot, doesn't it? There's not much else to do, and people enjoy that, don't they? Can be seen as a game that never gets old because of all the variety of things you can shoot at. He continues, you show up 100 deep, like The Walking Dead. You show up 100 deep in every rural town in a 50-mile radius, intent on revolution, you'll crash the system and make them pay. What, by making them the caretakers of your souls when they put you in the fucking ground? That's just turning up, please murder us. And then when you get out into the open, if you actually, they actually was to attempt to do this, it's like, I love it. It's like, I'm now caught up in thinking about what the logistics might be in planning any kind of assault like this, understanding that there's no fucking Starbucks going to be open. It's like, are you going to bring enough supplies to last a few days, or are you going to do like a Dirlewanger thing and lock them all in the church and say a lie? It's like, I'm sorry, I don't think you'll get away with it. I'm just saying that this is the worst idea or set of ideas that I've ever read. But this be a clue as to where the imagination goes, where those will escape into this kind of fantasy, unable to face the truth of, hey, let's have a question about what this is all about. They'd sooner lash out like this. If you think I'm kidding, this is good. I like this. This is the best bit. And if you think I'm kidding, I'm dead serious. Oh, okay, yeah, right. This was caused by backward-ass rural conservatives operating out of a Christianized worldview. Even if they're not Christian, they're heavily influenced by it. They were the ones who voted for Trump in 2016. Those disillusioned redneck / white trash / blue collar, to quote a country song, types who flipped massively for the GOP. Punish them. Punish their towns. They say BLM burn the cities to the ground. I say let them see firsthand what it's like when a community is truly burned to the ground. They want a civil war. They should have been careful what they asked for and voted for. I'm not the organising type. This guy's more of a, you know, a kingpin, you know, like a strategist. I'm not the organising type, but maybe someone who can organise that. Start in a certain state in the Midwest called the South Middle Finger to America. It's literally what the South would have looked like if it wasn't reconstructed. He thinks he's identified a target. Okay, are you for fucking... See, right. For a laugh, we might entertain the army of an army of rainbow warriors with gay flags and guns. Pro-abortion. And it be that these people ostensibly, right, may themselves have some mixed feelings about the subject, as everyone does, because it's a big deal. And we pretend it's not. So it's like, if you kill them all, you will certainly kill a few true enemies. It's like you're mouthing off like this. It's like, first of all, it's like you've completely misunderstand the nature and composition of your imaginary army, sir. It's like, no one's fucking going doing anything for you. It's like, they will sign an online petition. They will leave a comment. They may even make a donation, but turn up to kill for you. Turn up to fight, turn up to kill. Mayhem, sack, burn, rape, loot. No. You don't have that capacity amongst your number unless you were to, like, unleash, basically empty the prisons. Oh fuck, they did that, didn't they, after the old COVID? You'd need a brute squad of foreign operators to do that. Oh fuck yeah, oh shit yeah, oh damn, all those fucking maniacs who got over through the southern border. Oh yeah, you'd need them. You'd need them to do it. Being the people with a capacity for that kind of destruction, being that's what they've lived. They know that. They know that bandit gangster thing. Are you for real? It's like, anyone who attempted this would get themselves fucking shot, not learn nothing. But the whole world would learn about a strange fucking dickheads turning up to rush our fucking community. You might get away with it for 5 minutes. Civil war? It's like, no, you're a general, sir, of an army that will do whatever it possibly can to avoid a physical confrontation. Anything they possibly can to avoid one. They will provoke one and then avoid one. Provoke, avoid, provoke, avoid, provoke, avoid. Like. But if you get the fucking high-minded, lunatic, rageful fucking fantasists have started to get their asses on Reddit. It's a matter of this guy's thinking. He's leading a revolution here, but he don't want to get his hands dirty. He wants to be like the Marx of the revolution. Some super fucking narcissism in this, isn't there? It's like in the tiny little brain has thought of this, and its nasty intent is to, let's go and teach those fucking hillbillies a lesson. Imagining them as being like absolutely backwards, like in Deliverance or something like that, as toothless, like okay. It shows a level of ignorance and hatred for an unknown enemy. It's like if this is a widespread thing, if this is in some way, and it is because it's human handiwork, this has been processed by one of these. A Christianized worldview. You see, that's the thing. It's like you'll get people who would rather fantasize, yeah, than have an honest conversation. And they would rather act out than have a sensible conversation. And it's like the division's well and truly struck. But it's like seeing these guys now in desperation now reach out for magical thinking, fantasy. It's been on the cards that it's what comes next. It's like you get more of that. It's like this financial pressure, right? It's not manifesting as people protesting against high prices. It's coming out as people becoming more entrenched in these imaginary wars. And this isolated, detached, narcissistic fucking war mentality. They're doubling down on this. They're doubling down on the pride. They're doubling down on what they think they can get away with. It's like they've decided that this is the last Pride Month, and they've decided they're going to snatch whatever they can snatch while the going's good. It's like they're a robber looking to make a getaway. There's something in the nature that's so insecure that tries to take as much ground as humanly possible because it knows that half of it at least is going to be fucking snatched back. And it just fucking happened, didn't it? And then you've got it where the political end of it, the Democrats, they're going to go into this with 2 feet and try and stir it up as much as they possibly can. Them seeing it as a last-ditch issue that can save them from an electoral catastrophe. So they've politicised and weaponised this and actually almost set it up over the years of miseducating about what Roe versus Wade is. And then any resistance to it be faced with like nasty, hysterical mobs of fucking banshees. Oh, I tell you what, you know, it's like on one level of the game, that fucking Clarence Thomas hasn't half just given it straight back at them. There's a level of the game as to where, you know, anyone who's a serious person can see that this law needs tossing out. And it's like he stands for generally what the Constitution fucking says and understands that, you know, that this court has to mean something. It's got a balance. And now they're trying to actually discredit its entire existence because they don't control it anymore. So they can't make emotional arguments. They can't have these fucking activists on there giving it shit like, well, as a woman, you know, oh, here we go, so you're a judge, are you? It's like, damn fucking right they've thrown that out, and damn fucking right they know throwing it out is going to cause a stampede, and it's a stampede that needs to fucking happen. It's a reflection of women's inability to handle criticism and be held accountable for their own actions. And just to even suggest that might be something that needs to happen, oh, it just proves you're the worst person alive, doesn't it? There isn't us and them, and I'm one of them. Oh, you're one of them, are you? Doesn't buy into it. Isn't under the power of the fucking witch. big moves in Scotland to pardon all the witches in history who were executed. And when push comes to shove, witchery is shit stirring, which is telling lies and being promiscuous, breaking families up. Witchcraft, get you fucking burned. What else did she say? What else did she say? What else did she say? And then when she works out that she can say anything she wants, she starts to mouth off, tell more lies. Say, well, I fucked him too, and I fucked him too, and I fucked him too, and I fucked him too. And it's like, right, only way we can get rid of this is to kill it. Because if you put her in prison, the fucking guards will have to listen to her fucking mouthing off all day, and she'll fuck their heads up. With a cocksucker mouth. No, we have to kill these women. And this is how we dealt with them. So it's like, we know this now. It's like, there's nothing mystical about it. It's all about bullshit. Fucking sex magic. It's what being a witch is. There's no power beyond. There's them people be fucking fantasists, fucking crackpots who live in the land of make-believe and at the centre of the universe. And they've always existed. In Scotland, they once burned them. But now they elect them. So, in view of all the challenges that they face in Scotland, the fact that they've made this a thing as to where they've got to get this through Parliament, this posthumous apology to the witches. What does that message does that send to present day witches? Of which there are many. What the present day witch is doing now? They're boiling. What? Yeah. And burning. Someone's made them very, very angry. And forced them to self-reflect, and they do not like that. Anyone who falls into it, you can know something about them straight away. And who falls in on the, oh, this is the first step on a road to tyranny. They're going to take all our rights away. It's like, oh, so now the slippery slope is real, is it? Now the slippery slope's real. It's like you've got it where you've got people who've been hit by these two recent judgments, and because they didn't know where to stand, right, or didn't stand for really anything, they're in the middle of it on sinking sand, and they're freaking out too. And then suddenly there's such thing as a slippery slope fallacy. Suddenly that's what it'll be. We know this. They've gone super fucking crazy. What a week it's been. Things I've learned this week that were mind-blowing. I had one guy tell me that Einstein's theory of relativity does not apply to electric vehicles. Electric vehicles, right, are better than, just better. You know, that notion of so much energy to move so much mass being the same because it's, you know, it's got weight to it. Being exactly the same, it's like that's what Einstein worked out. It's like, so we can measure all this shit. We know, that's why we know what it costs to move something from one place to another. No, doesn't count for electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are better. Right, okay, I can't argue with that, can I? Also learn that to oppose incest, right, is to discriminate against people who are severely disabled and crippled. What? Yeah. Yeah, if you're against incest, you're a terrible, terrible person. And this was from a professor at the University of Western Sydney who was a criminologist of all things, who specialised in porn studies and the disabled. What a picture that profile puts up, and then you come to read his stuff and it's like, no, we should allow incest because what about these poor crippled people that were denying the chance to exist? What? So yeah, I learned that this week, and I'm like, who even thinks like that? And it'd be a matter of, well, that one does, and that'd be a surprise to you. Mild. There'd be plenty of people who've made, in fact, that might even be an original thought. I don't think even that might be on the absolute cutting edge of crazy, trying to make a moral argument using an imaginary victim. Because that guy's not a cripple or anything. He's using an imaginary victim that's yet to be born, doubting that it will be born in view of the fact that society, in his estimation, wrongfully looks down on incest. Like, that's fucking mind-blowing. It's like, you can make that argument? It's been a few. And then after that came that the Supreme Court threw out that needing a concealed carry permit, because that's ridiculous. It's like, you're only allowed to carry a gun if you can, like, prove you need it for self-defense. It's like, well, what constitutes proof? Who decides? And what if I, like, need one? Like, right now, can I, get my application to carry a handgun, like, expressed through the system because I feel I may be in danger? It's one of the most ridiculous laws that's ever been thought of, that concealed carry permit thing. It really is. It's like, because you could just carry a gun anyway, and it's like, you haven't got a permit for that, and it's just as deadly. So it's just nonsense. It's like, someone pulls a gun on you, you say, have you got a permit for that gun? And then you got it'd be perfect, isn't it? You go, freeze, hand over your wallet and your phone. Have you got a permit for that gun, son? No. Hand it over. Come on. Do the right thing. The gun doesn't know whether or not it's licensed. Oh, I can sit ripping on the notion of licenses to carry weapons all fucking day, and it's a matter of, well, I ain't got one for mine, and it's in my pocket. That Canada thing, what he's saying, no one has Canada, Trudeau, no one has the right in Canada to use a gun to defend themselves. So if someone comes at you with a gun, right, and you shoot them, you just murder them. What? No right to self-defense with a firearm. What? So it's the law in Canada. If someone comes with a gun, you are not allowed to resist them. Excuse me. So the law protects the criminal when he comes with a gun. It's like, gun, you're not allowed to touch me. It's like, I like Trailer Park Boys, right? They had never even thought of that. They come up with some of the most absurd things as to how you can take the piss out of certainly Canada. And not even Ricky's worked out that he can pull a gun, and it's like, you're breaking the law if you come at me. It's like, I'm the victim here. I'm the one with the gun. You've got no right to resist me. Hand it over, you've no right to resist me. What? And it's like, yeah, Justin Trudeau should just never be allowed to speak on any subject ever. Peterson's right about him. It's insulting for him to think that he's competent enough to be a politician. It's like almost the ultimate act of narcissism and doing something for self-worth as can be even envisioned Justin Trudeau. It's despicable. I'm right with Peterson there. He says, I struggle to say his name. I hate him so much. Like a vacuous dirtbag who's charmed his way up, and people have thought better of him, and he's exploited. That weakness I were always pointing to back years since, as to that tendency, it's not so much a thing now as it was. That tendency of people to think better of others because they look the part. And like over the years, this has got worse. Everyone gives everyone the benefit of the doubt. And then it morphed into everyone gives everyone the benefit of the doubt based on a race and a political sort of what they've said as to whose ally are they. So you deserve the benefit of the doubt because you went to a fundraiser or you gave something. So you deserve the benefit of the doubt. Okay. Oh, we should give him the benefit of the doubt. Why? He's on our side. It's been left wide open for people to just walk in right at the top of it, and it's happened all over the place. Think better of him because he's good looking and he's got a good smile and he sounds nice and he's dreamy hair. And you buy that? And then all of a sudden, all these forces in the world that weren't politically active before then become politically active for him? In the same way, UK, all the nutters became politically active for Jeremy Corbyn. It's like, these are not politics people, these are fucking thugs. These are gangsters. It's like these kind of leaders, these cult of personality leaders, elicit muscle, don't they? They think, they can make a crowd of fucking nutters turn up. Love it where I see it on the internet where people have turned up to it like a demonstration or some rally, and I'm like, you went to that? Been to a few of them in my time, but the ones that I've been to, time and place, worthy. Went to a big one in London when the 2009 financial crash and crisis happened. There was fucking millions of people there. That was unbelievable. Well, it was hijacked by the trade unions and the Labour Party. What? Yeah, you got there and it was like a multi-million man march against basically the banks and the system and everything. And it's at the same time as Occupy around then. Wait, in London. That actually went on to be that, where people were sitting in for days and Occupy London. The seeds of that. The millions there. We got there and it had been, the whole thing had been hijacked by the Labour Party, the trade unions and the Socialist Workers' Party, and they'd turned it into an event, and they brought speakers up like Diane Abbott and fucking Miliband, and they just hijacked it. The left just completely, Labour Party just completely hijacked the entire event, and it's like, this wasn't their event. Time we got there, it become a big gay leftist socialist Labour Party spunk fest, and you're like, this is not what anyone had in mind. You had half the people who turned up there to violently fucking pillory, like go fucking in super hard. And it's like everyone else turned up as well, and because everyone else turned up, the lefties just hijacked the entire thing. we got there, and it's a matter of I'm sitting around and all the fucking faces of minor sort of grassroots political activism active on the internet. You walk round that event, rogues gallery of everybody was there. Everybody had turned up. And it's like, why is this a TUC unison rally now? It's like it was so big they had to hijack that. That was one I went to, learned a fucking lot about how the government deals with a crisis when it's got a critical mass of protests heading down on it that's really, serious. And we learned all the tricks that day. We saw everything. We saw how parts of Oxford Street had been redressed and staged for a televised outbreak of violence by Antifa. And walked past it, and it's like the place was just set up for them to do it. There's like fucking bricks laying around, fucking a bin full of sticks that they were all to grab and start smacking things with, and then they suddenly appeared and started throwing paint around, and like, this was stage managed. We walked past it 5 minutes before it happened, and it's like, that's a false front of that building. That's a movie set. What? It's like, yeah, the Ritz. It's like, this is a movie set. It's like, can you not see it? And there were a fast perspective sort of, it was basically boarded up with a photograph. Well, yeah, I took photos of it. I've probably got an old phone somewhere. I've probably still got the photos. And it's like, this place is boarded up. For this day, so they're not letting anyone in, they're not letting anyone near it. They've boarded it up, and it's fascia on the outside they boarded up with. Looks like the place. Probably so when it's like that, you can still photograph it from an angle and it looks like the place. So from one angle, it's like a photorealistic facade, and we're being held away from it. And the next thing you know, it's like it's been attacked with paint, and it's like, well, they've only hit the facade, but the way they photographed it on the television, it looked like they'd damaged the building, and they hadn't. They'd actually damaged boards that were painted. No actual damage was done or anything. Walked back from where we went to after the attack, and there's just no signs of one. Staged for television. So they used to have a thing where if they could say violence erupted at, that'd be the news. They wouldn't say that millions of people turned up for a political demonstration. They'll say violence erupted, and then totally delegitimise delegitimise what you were doing by not reporting on why you were there, and it'd be horrific scenes, frightening scenes. Tear gas was fired and things like that. And then they used that outbreak of violence then as an excuse to bring in a load of heavies and kettle a load of people, like thousands, tens of thousands of people ended up kettled. And police have it. Well, if you want to kill us all, kill us all. Well, that's the only way we're letting you leave. So forget that piss you wanted. Forget that train you're catching. We're imprisoning you. So like I saw that farm and with lads I were with, I'm like, get in this train station here. I don't care that it's not ours. Get in it. Why? Because we're going to be the last people allowed out of here before everyone's fucking kettled. Imprisoned in situ. They'd leave you there for hours and hours and hours and hours. Keep you there half the night to punish you. So just imprison you. And they cordon off that Trafalgar Square. They can trap everyone in it. And that's where you stay. So they'd punish you for going. They'd punish you for not leaving when they said they wanted you out. They'd punish you for it. It's like, oh, you're not leaving? All right, well, we're going to punish you for it. It's just sus as fuck. So easy for just anyone to turn up and pull off any kind of wheeze they want. Weird one that, because there was a guy I had a conversation with who used to talk in all the conspiracy circles, but I was never a doomer like him. The guy called Ian R. Crane. I asked him once, because around this time I went to one of his talks. You know, when they put on a fucking slideshow presentation and tell you some deep truths. And I put it to him, I'm like, he's like, every working class movement ever will always be subverted by middle class activists. You can never get past them. And I'm like, is that always true? And he's like, yep. And I'm like, what if this time it isn't? And it's like, trust me. And then I went down to London and saw it with my bare eyes. Yeah, that's exactly what happened here. Every movement that swells at the bottom creates its own little bandwagon. And then there are those who just come along and just commandeer it and just take over it and will just snatch it up and they will subvert it and make it about what their own ends are. Because I get that, you know. I get the middle class vibe, mate, from people on the internet. Certainly people who I've tried to communicate with. That middle class, there is a class divide. There is. And people are just, it's a strange one. People in culture, right? You know, the arts, musicians and stuff, they're classless, right? I'm in that way classless, but you move into a political sphere and it becomes your working class. Whenever it ever gets towards it being either political or religious or aspects of notions of authority, power, knowledge, they always throw back working class. It's like we are not being represented. The working class are the lowest are not represented. Not politically. The nearest we've got to one is probably that Lee Anderson. He's probably the nearest we've got to a working class representative of a leader. But yeah, every movement does get snuffed out. Every working class grassroots movement gets snuffed out and gets caught, gets hijacked by a middle class elite, and they decide what it's about. So if you're facing a grave sort of grave injustice, they'll decide it's about poverty. Oh, does it suit me to fight my poverty? Yes, we'll fight my poverty. Once it used to be poverty, it'd be a matter of the blame for everything was poverty from the left. If only there was more money, and that doesn't mean anything, but that's what they'd run with. If only there was more money. If only there was more money to go around, and we could. And they were talking about reducing poverty. It's like, how do you rate that? How do you measure that? And then they made attempts to measure that. Now it's, well, now you've got an elite mindset of narcissism, right? And the elite mindset of narcissism be something that be made available to all and embraced. What we're seeing is the foibles and misadventures of the aristocracy and great adventures of life. The great fantasists, fucking deluded people, disconnected from reality because they didn't have to work in no fucking field. Now available to all. Play the instrument right, and you can be a state-backed bully that gets whatever you want, as long as you're willing to lie. And then, if you get found out, if you say you're sorry, you'll be welcomed back and believed again, and free to do the same thing again and again and again and again and again. It's like that's hell on earth. Doomed to make the same heartbreaking mistakes over and over and over again, and to hurt everyone who's ever interacted with you. That's what's now available, isn't it? It's like almost there's a notion of what's going on where you could call it that it's like it is someone's revenge against the wicked. It is. There's a balancing act. There is a balancing effect of what makes people that way, or makes people start thinking and feeling this way. And there is an element of revenge and an element of punishment. It's got to be there. It's I like to see the guilty held accountable, not the innocent, for the sins of the individual. It's like, you go and hunt the guy down who did it. Don't tell me it's to do with his race or persuasion or group or sect. It's like, nah, he had a choice in the same way as a woman's got a choice whether she fucks that guy and gets pregnant. He got a choice too. If we deny that she has a choice and plays a massive part in this, we can give the same allowance to everyone else, can't we? Let's not hold the individual accountable for their actions, eh? Let's instantly politicise everything that happens, so we've always got a ready-made explanation, so we never really have to think about the ins and outs of what's being done to us. It's like, it could be coming to an end, but before it comes to an end, it'll come to a fucking crunch, one way or another. I think it might be a frenzy of people getting kicked off social media for opposing it. My sights are set a bit low, but that is only a 48-hour prediction.